back to Giving You More Than Numbers, the CAS Business Support Podcast. This is season 2, and today we're going to be talking about how to get more from Xero without living in it. Like myself, the rest of the team, and Paul from Xero do. I'm Paul Barnes, and if you've ever logged into Xero, clicked around for 5 minutes and thought, I'm not sure that helped, this episode is for you. Xero shouldn't just be a place where receipts go to die or VAT returns get submitted. It should help you make better decisions. Today, we're talking practical dashboards, reports that actually matter, common mistakes that hide problems, and how best to use Xero and its ecosystem of apps. I'm delighted to be joined by Paul McKay from Xero and Tim Maycock from Elect International Design Group. Lovely to see you both. So let's get straight into it. Xero as a decision tool, not a filing cabinet. So I think that's really important, especially when you're starting to use some of the front end tools like HubDoc, Dext, Apron. But Paul, obviously, you primarily look after us as as our partner manager, and you work with lots of other accountants to support their clients using Xero. But those that are getting the most from it, how do you see they're embracing Xero now?
Yeah, good to see you again. Third one we've done now together this. But to answer your question, I think it's all about the onboarding, Paul. We see the firms that progress really well with Xero and their clients are more successful is when that onboarding experience is nailed on.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a great onboarding with your clients, but that's my belief.
Yeah, brilliant. And Tim, we supported you, I think it's 3 years ago now, in making a transition from, I'm going to just use the phrases because I don't want to name, from a clunky desktop solution into the cloud. How's that changed the way that you look at and analyse your data?
I think the first point is around speed. Yeah, we were primarily a spreadsheet-based business, and spreadsheets are amazing, but inherently, kind of brittle.
Yeah.
And the speed with which we can now close the month, get everything posted, and get to a set of reports is probably double where we were before.
Wow. I guess both of you will have slightly different things of this, but how do you see the shift from being reactive in software, in all softwares, all accounting platforms, to then being proactive? What's that shift look like, and what does that now give the end users the power to do?
I think you can see issues earlier. We're a relatively complicated use case for Xero. We're doing long-term contracting, fairly big numbers, multiple divisions. Being able to see those primarily balance sheet reports through the month as we go, where you're highlighting potential WIP issues, where you're highlighting potential margin issues. You're not constantly waiting for a big long finance process. The data is flowing in nicely. And going back to your point around the partner apps, I think that's the key point. That's where we've got the efficiencies. The data now flows in much more quickly, much more easily, without all the manual handling, such that those reports are pretty much live. There's not much to do by month end.
Wow.
And we can get a decent set of numbers, really. As and when, rather than waiting for the whole finance machine to clunk through its processes.
And I think it's probably important just for those that are tuning in. Elect are part of Rigby Group.
Yeah.
Huge in that design space. Multi-million pound turnover business, still being able to function inside Xero. So that is probably one of the higher use cases of Xero. But then, Paul, I'm sure, and I know that you see clients the same as we do, that are at the opposite end of that scale.
Yeah.
And as what Tim said, kind of resonated, but maybe on smaller scales for those businesses in their infancy.
Yeah, exactly. Xero is a tool that can just be subscribe to off the shelf, but
Yeah.
it's highly customizable. So going back to, again, the first step of understanding the business, what they need, what's important to them. You understand that through the onboarding process, set up Xero correctly, and then the rest of the journey should make sense.
Yeah.
And you get served up the insights that you need.
Mm.
So yeah, I see
Yeah.
it at all ends of the spectrum.
And Tim, you've alluded to that ability to be able to sort of check in regularly during the month. Are there any things particularly, and yeah, we think about Elect, but in prior roles for you, albeit in different software, are there any things in and around that Xero interface that are the first things you go and look at, and that you would recommend other people go and look at as a default?
I think it comes down to your point, Paul, about how you customize. Yeah, for us with 7 divisions and 30 live long-term contracts at any one point, that takes some building. Yeah, and it took a decent amount of effort up front to get that infrastructure built. I think the fact that the bank flows in without need for kind of uploading a cash book and all the old style processes, the fact the bank flows straight in means your debtors are live. Yeah, you're not waiting 2-3 days for the finance team to get round the postings. You can see that lovely morning screen of you've got 5 items to reconcile, 50 items to reconcile.
Yeah.
The first thing I check is who paid me yesterday.
Yeah.
And that like all businesses, cash is absolutely imperative. The fact you can see exactly who's paid, Xero does its best to go, oh, it's this particular debtor. Wonderful, excellent. I can stop worrying about that number.
Brilliant. And Paul, we had a conversation off air just around how that initial Xero dashboard can be customizable. So obviously there's a lot of customization around reports and that, which we'll touch on later with Tim. But that dashboard, how have you seen that made life easier for accountants and users?
Yeah, so we've just revamped it 3 or 4 months ago. So we've got our new UI. Part of the UI now allows businesses to customize the first dashboard they see. We call them widgets. So whatever is important to you, you can bring those to the top. And they are just live widgets with data going in. Depending what's important to you, you can have that serving up, whether it's unreconciled transactions or account watch list, which I feel like is a big must to see, but also your debtors and your creditors and who's paid and who do you owe money to. So yeah, that is the first thing I'd always say go to.
And if you are a Xero user but perhaps don't have a team behind you, so of course as businesses scale they tend to take on that finance function themselves, but if it's a business owner on their own, what widgets would you say would be the ones on that top line? So I think you can have 4 columns. So what would be those 4 widgets? Somebody that perhaps doesn't have a team in and out every day, what 4 would you put at the top?
Cash is king, isn't it?
So bank,
who owes you money, who you owe money to, 100%.
Yeah.
And yeah, the benefit, I mean, I'm repeating exactly what you've already said, Tim, but the beauty of having bank feeds in, you know when you've been paid straight away. So yeah, it's all live.
Fabulous. And Tim, one for you. How long did month-end reporting take pre-Xero?
So
we're still on a 10-day close. Yeah. But in reality, I know the number by day 3.
That's amazing. So realistically, that review process suddenly becomes shorter. Absolutely. So one of your points at the very start of this was I can spot those things earlier, which ultimately is going to stabilize those businesses and eradicate the I didn't know, because actually we should know and we can know.
But I think what it fosters is a change in finance culture, because finance used to be all about the big month-end close, and they'd put everything back to month-end, and then you go through that hard piece of work for 5-10 days. Effectively, I'm almost always 80-90% closed. I'm always that little. There's not that much to do my month-end because everything's in, it's reconciled. The only number I'm really concentrating on is our cost of sales and the margin we're actually taking through, and that's by virtue of it being a long-term contracting business where we've got some control over the margin we recognise. I think for a business where it's much more mechanical, yeah, you pretty much have live data all the time.
Yeah.
You don't need to be very far away from a big clunky month-end close, and that's taken some change in mindset for finance.
Yeah.
The fact that we're constantly rolling through, and apps like Pleo help. Yeah, the fact that we've moved a lot more of our procurement spend onto
Yeah.
Pleo rather than invoice,
Yeah.
because it's there and then it flows through really nicely, and it also pushes that data gathering exercise out to the team who are spending the money.
Yes.
And so again, you've got that first point of data out with the team rather than finance going to chase for it, and it's just there, done.
So again, it's just slicking in process, which helps everything become quicker, slicker, and to a certain extent more accurate.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I think we kind of know Xero now is going to allow us to make some decisions. We've spoken a little bit around the dashboard and how we can use that and how that helps us make some informed decisions. I know, Paul, you've got some ideas on how we can pull reports directly from that dashboard, and we'll touch on those. But what I'm really keen is I think as a first, is what do you consider, and we're obviously both ends of the spectrum here, the 4 most powerful reports, so not the widgets, but the 4 most powerful reports are in Xero for a business owner. And whichever one wants to say what you can come at it from what other accountants potentially are leaning on as well.
Yeah, so because I work with a variety of different sizes of businesses and accountants, we really try and consolidate things together and then just allow you to expand on that yourself. So you've got your initial dashboard when you log in, great, some initial insights, alerts, warnings, etc. To back that up, then we go to analytics, which is in Xero itself. Analytics then starts to leverage the data that's already in there and start to give you a few insights about what if scenarios, your cash flow forecast, things like that. So that is then level 2. But what I would say is everything within our product is drillable. So from an educational perspective, you might see a number and go, that's big or that's low or what's that? But everything you can click on takes you straight back into a report and gives you a full insight about what that number's made up of. Things like that for me are great. So I love the whole just learning and just exploring, because you can't break it. You can just go and figure out what that number's made up of. So that's not a specific report, but it's just understanding what that number's made up of.
I think that's the one thing that I've come to rely on massively when we're working with clients, is when you're sitting down and doing those reviews, is the ability to drive right the way back down to the source transaction of that spend that they're going, I didn't spend that.
Even a picture of the actual transaction receipt or the invoice, you're like, I remember that.
Yeah,
I took that picture myself.
That's it. And obviously, Tim, you're sort of probably at the slight end of the scale, and I know that there's lots of customized reports within your Xero, but what 4, before you customized, were the 4 that you thought those will replace the spreadsheet?
I think for us the customized are the most important, because we're long-term contracts and project based, albeit we don't use the projects module, which is an interesting one. I think the aged debtors works beautifully, and so I can push that out and follow up with statements of accounts. You love the outstanding function, and I haven't seen any other software that does just a simple statement of account of this is what's outstanding on your account, and send it straight out. With a word of caution though, we initially set up to be very much Xero just pushes out statements, pushes out invoices automatically. But I think we lost a little bit of the human touch on that, and so I've pared back, and now I said to the team, we should be proud to be billing our clients. We've done great work. We should be proud to send this out with a personal touch, and same with the statements. I think the automated nature of it can take away some of the personal element of actually getting someone to pay. So it's a great function, and for other businesses, I think it would be more applicable than ours. But
and I think it's probably worth quantifying that you potentially bill out high value, low volume of invoices, but there are lots of clients that are pushing through
absolutely
huge number of invoices where that potential real personal touch becomes quite difficult.
And we're dealing with customers. I think when it's B2B, and certainly we see huge numbers of invoices coming in via Xero. Absolutely perfect. No problem at all.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah, and then and you've both touched on the Aged Receivables report being more powerful than, in its own right, a turnover report. Why is that? Why should someone go and look at their Aged Receivables report before they start to then analyse turnover?
Because your turnover's not real unless somebody's paid for it. It's yeah.
It's almost like I condition that answer, isn't it?
No, I think for going back to your point previous, the ability, my ability to send out reasonably live reports, at any point to the owners of those particular P&Ls, and for them as read only users to then just click through, and see their overheads, see what's gone in, see where I've posted costs.
Yeah.
That's made life a lot easier.
Nice.
Previously we were on desktop software. I won't name it, but we were on desktop software. There was no ability to interrogate. We had all invoicing within finance. It's now all within Xero. People can get through to the documents. And again, bringing that Approval Max piece, it completes the journey. For people in charge of spend, they'll have gone on, raised the PO, they'll have approved it, the rest of it. Seeing it actually then land in their numbers, it's a really powerful circle that pushes out an awareness, more of responsibility. It allows the actual drivers of spend to be more part of, or to be a part of that process in a way that previously there was 2 or 3 steps within finance that now it's all just out there.
And I think, and we'll probably touch on it a little bit later, but the fact that Xero's built this ecosystem of, and I'm going to call them complementary apps, that suddenly for somebody like Elect that have a particular need to get things approved, suddenly and seamlessly things now flow as you've said, but everything's digital. And I think that in the world that we're in, and when we're all thinking about our both carbon footprints and sustainability, to suddenly remove paper shuffling around an office must both improve the time, and again, I would imagine at month ends there was no way we were in a position to be going, I know my numbers on day 3, because we were going, well, what's such and such still got sat on their desk waiting to be approved and hit the system.
We were still reconciling credit card statements by day 7. We almost didn't know. Now that's moved all the process to within the month, and almost back to the original user. Your original base data is there straight away. And that timeliness is so powerful.
So I think where we are then is actually the reports can be as valuable as we need them to be, and can be as customized as much as we need them to be. And in terms of customization, we can start to put in things like our own KPIs, our own measures, using the raw data that's in there. And I think that again is really powerful when you start to be able to put in things like, what's my percentage of advertising spend as a percentage of my overhead, as opposed to a percentage of turnover. That suddenly makes people sit back and go, well, actually, am I spending enough, too much? The budgets as an entire function inside Xero adds lots of power in those reporting tools. But there's one report that we've not really touched on, and we've alluded to bank feeds coming straight into Xero. How has the bank reconciliation report changed the way you're able to understand that future cash flow prediction?
I think we weren't in a bad place before, but it was very manual and spreadsheet based, and totally reliant on the individual. I think with the application Approval Max, with Dex then bringing the actual invoicing through, we can see where those big chunks land, and you've just got a nice, easy to access. This is what you're going to be paying out over the next few weeks. And when you then layer that in with your cash balance and your debtors expected, your tasks then obvious. You know you've got to pay that bill. The actual tasking that Xero drives is really clear. If I don't get that paid, I'm in trouble. And that clear link is nice and easy to see. And again, you're not waiting for a potential external accountant or finance team to actually go through that process. You can see it quite easily. You can see where your cash crunch is going to be.
Yeah.
So.
And Paul, are there things that Xero will automatically push through into a cash flow forecast inside Xero that people don't necessarily need to actually go and check externally? So I'm thinking about things like VAT, payroll, predictions. From a cash flow forecast, do those type of things get pulled into the cash flow automatically?
So yes, it should. It just looks on your historical record. So the more data that's there, the more accurate it can forecast for you, really.
And we're using a bit of AI in there, are we? And
There's
a bit of machine
an
learning.
element. Well, there's an element of just historical trends
Yes.
and AI, but yeah, you're going to see that, and then we can do it for 30, 60, 90 days within products, but there is the possibility to do for longer when we use our add-ons as well.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's for those businesses that are perhaps starting on that Xero journey, that want to get that snapshot of what's coming, assuming the data goes in and they've built that history up, that cash flow forecast is going to help them over those 90 days.
Again, going back to my first point at the beginning, it's all part of the onboarding, because again, if you can get it right from day one and things are going in right, your forecasting becomes even more accurate in the future, because everything's recording to the right categories, and it can give you that right information that you need. So yeah, looping back to what we said earlier, but quite important.
And just going to round out this particular section of topic. Why should business owners actually start to look at a month-on-month report rather than just a month in isolation?
I think any good business needs to understand the trends. Yeah, if with a month in isolation is often,
seasonality kicks in, doesn't it? Or
like any set of numbers needs to be compared to something, whether it is a budget, a forecast, or in history. You can never just look at 1 month in isolation. Yeah, it could be an exceptional month. Yeah, but unless you're comparing it back to history, how do you know?
Same. But not only just look at it from a month on a monthly basis, but also look at it from a benchmarking perspective about what other people are doing in the industry, and see how you compare to different ways of looking at it, really.
Right. So we've spoken about how Xero gives us so much more insight through dashboards, through reports, but we've all encountered them, and what I just want to deal with, and it's not a negative, but it can be perceived. What common Xero mistakes do you see that actually potentially hide problems?
One we've encountered is around we've built our multi-layered P&Ls. I've not found it yet, but Xero doesn't flash up a big warning to say you've got unreconciled items or you've got unmapped items. So you can think everything's within a report, but if you've created new categories, new TB codes, whatever, there isn't an automatic piece that goes, I'm not in. So it can be a little bit hidden if you're constantly changing that
report layout,
base construction of how you've got Xero set up, or potentially your external accountant's done something. There's not an automatic flash to say
I'm not analysed in.
So I think that's one common issue. So running your unreconciled items, or sorry, running the uncoded is a potential risk. Equally, if you're using tracking categories as your primary filters, making sure everything's been allocated to a category is imperative, because you could have all sorts of uncategorized that don't necessarily flow up but should be. And I think having Xero flash up a big red screen saying, hang on a minute, what about these? It's a potential pitfall.
And I get that, and I think Xero are probably the tracking category going on. I'm not going to stick up for Xero in this respect, because this is about trying to iron out some of the things that Xero users just need to go and double check. The unassigned tracking category report is quite powerful, but actually, where should it go? Takes a bit more drilling. If we just bring it back just a little bit, and we go from we're getting that data coming in through HubDoc, through Dex, through Apron, to name the three that we kind of work from a receipt capture perspective. A lot of the mistakes that people perceive have been done in Xero tend to sit in those front ends, and I think some of them that we see, I'd be interested to see whether, Paul, you see them across other firms as well, things like miscoding, VAT challenges.
Yeah, we use the term a lot, rubbish in, rubbish out. Separate podcast altogether, this Paul. Education is part of it. It's all understanding what a code is, what the different codes are that are set up and what they're all about. Right, understand that now. That alleviates a lot of cache coding or recoding in the future. God, where can we go with this? There's all sorts. But yeah, from the data capture point of view, I do think that does help actually quite a lot, because upon engagement with a client, you can actually start to say, well, we need to do this. We need to capture this information. We need a source of truth. You could start off that process just by asking, all I want you to do is just capture it. My team will do the rest for now, until we feel that you understand where things need to go. And then that's how we can start to reduce that gap of errors within the product. And then you build on that.
I think we've seen that with clients that do their own bookkeeping. Xero has a fantastic chart of account structure, nominal codes if we want to get a bit technical. The one that we see gets used the most is general expenses. Everything where people are doing their own bookkeeping tends to go into general expenses. And whilst that is, in our eyes as professionals in the finance world, a mistake, at least we've got it categorized. That, I think, the big thing is where people maybe look at coding things. I've bought a ream of paper, and that goes up into office equipment rather than stationery, just because. And I think you're right. It comes back to onboarding at the start, and that probably is why then people start to look at profit and loss reports and think they've made more money than they really have. And I'm keen just to understand how the blind spots that can bring ultimately get discovered. Because sometimes we know it makes mistakes, but how do we uncover those mistakes?
For me, it's the trend analysis, and it's when something sticks out, you can normally see it, and as long as you've got a relatively sensible chart of accounts and you've got relatively sensible tracking categories, and you look at those on a monthly, yearly basis, you can start to see, hang on a minute, what's that spike? And it's fairly easy to access that kind of trend report, and you can see the data fairly easy. You can manipulate reports, a few clicks, and then you can start to go, hang on, why is this month so different? And then it's a very simple process to click into the month and go, oh, okay, fine, wrong place, remove, redo, shift out. It's so that's the bit that's where I go. It's primarily trend. I think there's a potential, going back to the pitfall point around it. Xero tries to be very, very helpful, and in the most part, it is really helpful. And if you've got, to the rubbish in, rubbish out, if you've got people who don't necessarily understand, then you've got a nice green box and click OK. That can be the kind of the genesis of the issue. But equally, you're going to spot it as long as you're actually active, looking. It helps you understand your business, and the more you use it, the more you will be able to spot those anomalies and shift them to the right place.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head. It doesn't matter whether your business is multi-million-pound turnover or is just starting out and is turning over £50,000 a year. Trying to be inside Xero regularly helps both build up the knowledge and helps you spot those trends a little bit quicker rather than going in, oh, my VAT quarter is due, I'll go in now and reconcile 3 months. That's when we find errors kick in, is because it's last minute and panic.
Yeah.
And it's using the power that Xero brings to ultimately help eradicate a lot of error making. And there's just one thing that I just want to pick up on, just to, again, kind of round out the pitfalls, because I really don't want this to be a let's bash the frailties or the things that perhaps are on Xero's roadmap to improve. But the one tool that we've now found really, really valuable with clients is where bills come in duplicate. And a little example and that we see, and hopefully you guys can kind of go, yeah, we this is how we deal with that. Screwfix, classic example. Somebody will go in and buy something over the counter and they get their till receipt and they're being really good. They're capturing the receipt on the app, but then the email invoice from Screwfix comes in, same value, same date, but different document numbers. Some tools won't give us that. Oh, that's a possible duplicate. The beauty when you push that into Xero is we're now getting warnings at the top of the bills to pay screen. I think I've got some duplicates. Do you want to review them? That for us has become really powerful.
Yep.
But are there any other things that you know work for you around helping you spot those odd rogue transactions?
Trying to think.
Got
I was gonna say,
the cogs thinking.
No, duplicate bills, it is a really useful one. I think because we've built Approval Max and we have Pleo effectively governing all of our spend.
Yeah.
We normally, if something's already been matched off, you effectively haven't got a home to place the duplicate.
Yeah.
So it's already been been reconciled against the PO.
Yeah.
Or it's already been approved in Pleo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a further kind of layer of comfort, and having that proper purchase to pay system inbuilt is great, and the ease with which Approval Max integrates into Xero, I mean, it's just been a dream.
Paul, any other areas of Xero that kind of help you identify where duplicates may or may not, and that might not be a visual on the screen, but you can run a report that says, please show me anything that appears to be duplicate?
Yeah, not really a day-to-day user, Paul. So I'm
Yeah,
not
so
really too sure.
I mean, I think the one for us that outside of the duplicate bills, which is a real flash on your screen, is looking at those duplicate bank statement lines. I think that's the other one that we tend to try and make sure, and that's not because it's a Xero challenge, but sometimes the banks will update whatever they need to do and they'll push through duplicate lines, or in worst cases they'll omit a line, and so for us those would be the two areas outside of reports that we potentially would look at. And I wasn't trying to catch you out. I genuinely wasn't trying to catch you out.
I think one thing we built is like every business, you get subscription bloat. You get all sorts of people clicking on all sorts of subscriptions, auto renewing, and so we built a report that highlights all of that spend, primarily to push back to the team as well and go, do you realise how much you're spending? Do we really need all this? But also just making sure we're identifying the bits of wasteful, forgotten, monthly
subscriptions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great, because sometimes firms can go an entire year, can't they, paying for something unnecessarily. So that goes back to what's useful to see month on month, really.
Yeah,
brilliant.
No, brilliant. Okie doke. Right, let's move this on to the last part of Xero, and this is now where we're really going to look at the tools that can add massive value alongside Xero. So it's kind of like Xero will always be enough, and we've proved that it will scale with a business, but sometimes we need those third-party apps, and we've alluded to some of them, but I just want to pick up on some of the apps that either are native now to Xero or those that have got a seamless integration, and where they bridge a gap and why that gap is where it is, so that the listeners and the viewers can look and go, well, actually, I've got a specific need. What's out there? So, Paul, I know you know the App Store in Xero. So if you can kind of talk us through just some of those that are the most popular and common outside of Dext and Approval Mats? Because obviously Tim's already alluded to those.
Yeah. Oh, we love this space. So not quite rivaling Apple and Google yet, but we've got an app store ourselves, a Xero app store.
Over 1,000, am I right?
1,200.
Wow,
Just
1,200,
over 1,200 at the moment. Of connected apps to Xero. Now that is where they've approved API access. We've assessed it, and they've applied to be on the Xero App Store. That's not saying there's a lot more. There's tens of thousands of apps out there that link into Xero, and there's a lot that people have built themselves and link straight in. When you look at the App Store, it's all about finding additional products to complement your business.
Yeah.
So as you rightly said before, Xero is a great product that will fit 99% of businesses out there, but a lot of businesses will need to go that extra step just to accommodate their requirement, whether it's from data in to data out and whatever industry you're in. So there's some really quirky stuff on there.
Yeah.
I'd even one of my favorites is an app on there that specializes in pet hotels.
That's
It's
what?
great. Honestly, it's there. It's there. If you're a pet hotel and you need some software, look at Xero and this app. It's great.
Wow.
But there is a lot. One of the best I like. There's some pretty complex systems out there that some businesses might pay £10,000-20,000 a year for. Sometimes a lot more, and when I see a business like that then explore Xero in conjunction with an add-on, and they might take it down to maybe a quarter of that, even less sometimes, and they're getting the same and better.
Yeah.
That to me is brilliant. That's such a good news story.
And I think that the major element that we've loved about Xero is its interconnectedness. And that is a value in itself.
Yeah.
And kind of holds Xero above others, just because it's been so easy to go and find those pieces of software that meet our specific needs. I mean, the way I see it, or the analogy I use, Xero is a fantastic engine. Yeah, it's a brilliant engine, but you need the rest of the car around it, and you can easily find all of those. And we've plugged in some app even without Paul's esteemed help. We've been able to do that ourselves, building the API. We've got links through to our BI tool Grow. We've got now our HR system Breathe. It's just easy to click it, do it, and it just seems to work. So there's an element of that Apple type easy user experience that even not being the software expert, I still can do that.
And I think it's probably prudent to look at those, I suppose, industries where Xero as a standalone tool are probably not enough. And I think I'm just going to pick up a couple where you have an inventory heavy business. It won't handle it because the inventory in Xero is there and it's great, but it's not great for complexity. It isn't great for things like bill of materials or drop shipping. But what you then do, I go and hit the App Store, and there are some fantastic tools out there. And we're not being endorsed and paying for any of these, but there's Stock and Buy, there's Unleashed, there's Data Dia from an inventory perspective.
Yeah, I would say just to the listeners and the viewers that it does sound quite daunting process, and it's genuinely not. What you'll find is you can look at all these inventory partners. Let's use that for an example. All of those partners will quite happily speak to you. They will show you what they can do. They will give you a quote. They will give you a demo, so you can make a full decision about which of those tools really suits your business. There's even businesses out there that specialize in inventory add-ons, and they will speak to you and tell you which one's best for you, and they'll do the legwork for you. So.
And that was sort of on the back of that. My point would have been, if you are working with an accountant, and they either support or supply your Xero for you, ask them, because they will have access to knowledge of other clients with similar industries, similar quirks, similar needs, that they can absolutely point you in the direction of what they know works. And that's ultimately how it is. Tim, I just want to pick up on something, because you mentioned that you use Breathe from a HR perspective, and I'm just a little bit curious as to why there was a need for Breathe as a third-party tool as opposed to just Xero, because I think that's really important for businesses. And part of this series of podcasts is talking about actually businesses that scale that need employees. And I'm just curious about why we've got an extension as opposed to the payroll that exists in Xero.
So I think separate the two. So we do payroll within Xero, and Xero payroll is excellent.
Yep.
We moved across 6 months ago. I did it on my own. I didn't have any help to do that, and I'm by no means a payroll expert. Good. To give you an idea of how easy it is to do. So the financial side of employing people is handled very nicely in Xero. People's pay slips then slide straight across into Breathe, and that's their repository.
Right. So it's like HR is the front, is the Breathe piece.
So Breathe then does our holiday tracking. It does all our onboarding. It's all our documentation, our training records. It's fundamentally an HR database. Who have we got? What do they do? Where are they? How long have they been employed? All that good data sits within Breathe, and that's not something Xero would do. But it's also an HR front end. I wouldn't want to have to give everyone access, or I know you can send out payslips from Xero. But Breathe is it's a cheap product. It's not an expensive tool at all. But it's the integratedness that makes it nice and easy. So you onboard and then you push back into Xero, and then payslips flow out. It works as a really nice ecosystem.
Which actually comes back to what you said earlier about actually integrating with Xero is really easy, and it just takes a little bit of inquisitiveness to go, will that work for us? So, Paul, Xero made a big announcement, I think it was about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years, that they'd acquired Sift as a reporting tool. And one of the things that I really want to get to is, as your business scales and there's a potential need for slightly more complex reporting, how has Sift allowed businesses that you've seen to move into more complex insights? And actually give us an overview of what Sift actually does.
So Sift was one of our app partners of the year for I think 3 years on the trot. So we knew there was a lot of synergy there. We loved what they did, so obviously it made sense to acquire them. And it was just taking. I think what you got to think about is the longer you use Xero, the more data is aggregating there, the more insights you can have, and you can see trends and things like that. So we just thought, right, let's leverage Sift, let's get it onto the platform, and then allow our users to actually use that tool then to really take that data to another level. And the power of it is incredible, and you can pretty much, there's loads of stuff that you can do straight out of the box, but you can build whatever you want in there. And the good thing about it is it's live. Exactly what you see in Xero will surface up into Sift. So and as a business owner, you can list all your priorities, create your reports, create your dashboard, and that can be as well as Xero, your day-to-day dashboard you can go to, and you can just see how am I tracking on a daily basis versus what I want to achieve. But Sift, I love it. And
I have to say, the thing that I liked about Sift, and I continue to endorse it, and we push it through as many clients as we can now. We have lots of clients, probably owner-managed businesses rather than those with finance teams, where numbers on a page is daunting and it just becomes a blur. When you can give them Sift, which has some graphs, some pie charts, and a little bit more interaction, people seem to get it a little bit better. And so for me, that was the best thing to come out of Sift, or out of the acquisition of Sift, was the ability to now present data in a different visual that now people understand their business and go, get it. So for me, I just thought it was important to get a little bit of Sift out, because it was, depending on what Xero package you're on, you get a certain level of access to Sift, but you can upgrade that to get the all singing, all dancing, even if you stay on an entry-level Xero package.
You can. The Sift as well has got AI embedded into it, so whenever it produces a report, it will give you AI commentary on what that data means for you. So again, it's an education piece, and it.
Brilliant. So I'm going to bring this this episode to a close with a question to each of you, because I like to put you on the spot. No priming on this. So Paul, what's the biggest shift that you see when business owners have become empowered to use the software properly?
I don't know how to go into more detail than this, but we're a big believer about giving business owners time back. Huge believer. We whenever you see our marketing materials content, it's never our users stuck in front of a computer doing work. They're always out doing what they love best, spending time with their family. So it sounds very blue skies, but that is what we're trying to achieve.
So it's actually allowing them the time back.
Yeah, if you,
that's
I
the
suppose,
shift.
taking it a step back as well, it's like as long as you've got financial confidence and awareness of what's going on, it allows you to then to take a step back and spend time with your family and do that yoga class that you wanted to do.
Brilliant. And Tim, obviously you've made the transition from I'm like I say, I'm just going to use clunky systems, whether that's spreadsheets, desktop software, whatever. How has shifting to Xero made your life with the people you have to report to easier?
I think with any slow process, the business finds workarounds. Yeah, they will find workarounds, or they work on gut feel.
Yeah.
Because Xero now shortens that whole process, you can be in the conversation, you can be in that strategic conversation with real data in a timely manner. And so you can start to bring that true reliance back to the finance team. You can start to be part of those strategic conversations with real data, rather than constantly going on gut feel or I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. Yeah, and that for me is the biggest part. It makes it easy for finance to be a part of the strategic decision making.
Brilliant. That's great.
Nice.
That wraps up episode 2 of Giving You More Than Numbers. Huge thanks to Paul and Tim for keeping this practical and human. Ask yourself which reports you're going to start checking regularly, whether this is weekly or monthly, and we'll hold you to it. If this episode has helped, like, subscribe and leave a review. It genuinely helps other business owners find clarity. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time on Giving You More Than Numbers.